Good morning. It's nice and brisk outside, so I know everybody's coming in so you can get nice and toasty. I'm Benny Miles with 610 WAGG Summit Media. So glad that you're here. And look who we have with us this morning.
Hey, Rick Carly, how you doing? Everybody okay? All right, how many Alabama fans we have here? How many Auburn fans we have here? How you doing? How about ASU? How about A&M? How about Miles going?
Roll Tide Roll. That's all I know to say. That Nick Saban is a bad boy, and he's got swagger. Okay, moving right along. We have a wonderful performance. We have a few other things that are a little bit different this time, but so glad that all of you are here. Right now, we're going to have a dance performance, J. Lockhart Performing Arts Institute, and after that, Ursula Smith of Brown Sugar Nut Cracker, and we'll come and have the official welcome.
We forgot UAB. So.
I have a dream. One day, this nation will rise up, live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created
discovery last night in Birmingham.
that one day
The search is intensifying for 19-year-old Anaya Blanchard.
Just announced the arrest of 4 teens in the deadly Stanford murder. Last month,
could have been a whole lot worse. A fight broke out between some boys as police were trying to break that
young
fight
people
up.
that's been wandering in the wilderness. Mentoring program, a job training program, a social program that will help guide young people to a new goal.
It's providing basic services. Residents have to take ownership where they live.
give them another round of applause. Those young ladies could be somewhere else, but they're right here doing the right thing and doing a wonderful performance for us. Rick, who's the next one?
I just want to welcome everybody. Welcome. How y'all doing? Good? Good. I appreciate you having me. Okay. And you know, after 30 years as a sports anchor, I'm a news anchor now. Yeah, so I've got to be, you know, that official news guy. So
How do you say it?
I'm Rick. Good evening. Rick, no, I'm anchoring the mornings at Channel 13 now with Eunice Elliott, and that's great. So if, on your way out, really important here, on your way out, there are pledge forms to sign for each of you. You will pledge to only watch Channel 13 for the rest of your lives. Okay? So that's on the way out, ladies.
And listen to 610 the rest of your life.
There you go. But anyway, I appreciate you having me. We're honoring a great man and his legacy and what he's done, obviously, for generations. Ursula Smith, that brown sugar nutcracker, I'll tell you.
That's next. Ursula?
Ursula.
Well, let's move right along then. We will have the official welcome by Alice Westry, Community Affairs Committee, the co-chair. And after that, the blessing, the invocation and blessing of the food by the Honorable Stephen Hoyt, Birmingham City Council.
Good morning. Welcome to the 34th annual Martin Luther King Breakfast. We have traveled a great distance on this journey of 34 years, but there is much more elevation to be achieved before we can truly say, free at last, free at last. We are honored and humbled to welcome you to this awesome manifestation of celebrating the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King. The Martin Luther King celebration is one of the largest and most attended in the country. Today, we restore, revive, recover, and motivate the fight for unity and equality, all through the light of Dr. King, who has transitioned before us. Now, as we celebrate today, let us pick up our cross and do as Dr. King exampled. Stand bold, in peace, and change the world around us. Once more, welcome all of you to the 34th annual Martin Luther King Breakfast. Give yourselves a hand.
Good morning. It is with a sense of God's Ruah, that which gives power and movement to the Holy Spirit, that I stand before you this morning to offer our invocation as we celebrate and reflect on the countenance of this day, Dr. Martin Luther King's birthday, and pay our respect to a giant of a man. Many in our region and around the country have suggested and even mandated that this day is a day, indeed a day on and not a day off. There is too much at stake in our society, and we don't have time to waste, nor time to wait. We have to transform the space that God has us in right now. Our children are dependent on it. My brothers and sisters, our community and educational system commands our full attention. Dr. King made the ultimate sacrifice. by being a martyr for justice, liberty, and unity. He was a martyr for equality, peace, and nonviolence. He was a martyr for affordable, decent, and sanitary housing. He was a martyr for the poor and the rich, and equal access to health care. He was a martyr for economic parity and humanity, both the black, white, the brown, the red, the rainbow of people in our communities throughout America. Dr. King was a martyr for the uneducated and the educated. He was a martyr for the street and sanitary workers. He was a martyr for freedom. And that there is a cost for that freedom that we enjoy today, and therefore we should not take it for granted, because freedom, the freedom that we realize today, cost him his life and many others. And the question is, what will it cost you? Dr. King stated that we have to learn to live together as brothers and sisters, or perish together as fools. Make no misnomer about enduring freedom. It is a lifelong commitment, and therefore the struggle is not over. We still have to hold up the bloodstained banner of hope and possibility. Dr. King said, life's most urgent and persistent question is, what are we doing for others? Birmingham, what will be the change we invoke to make this world a better place? The question has to be answered by each one of us and lived up to. Now let us pray. Let us petition the Holy Spirit in this place. We come this morning to say thank you for the life and legacy of Dr. King and all the unsung heroes of this movement. We come this morning to say thank you for your abundant grace and mercy, of which we are not deserving, but you blessed us anyhow. And for that we are grateful. For you, O God, you have shown us what you require of us: to act justly, and to love mercy, and to walk humbly with you, God. This is your mandate, this is your decree. And as we commemorate the life of Dr. King, have us to rivet in our minds that he was a drum major for justice, an advocate for the poor, a cheerleader for equal access to health care, a shepherd for the disenfranchised, a caretaker for equality, and a pilot for truth. Lord, help us. Help us to be like Martin, who had a mind stayed on thee. Now, Lord, bless our city. Make it a fortified city. Bless our Mayor, Randall L. Whiffen, and the leadership of the council and all those who have been elected to lead us and their family. Bless the servers this morning and their family. Bless our nation and its leadership. Give them strength and a mind to serve your people with kindness and grace. Bless our children, protect them from the snares of life. Lastly, Lord, make us over again. Lord, make us over again. Lord, make us over again. Let us replace hate with love, sorrow with joy, violence with peace, poverty with prosperity, doubt with fear and hope, faith and hope, and moral decay with your righteousness. God of our weary years, God of our silent tears, thou who brought us thus far on the way, and thou who hast thy might, let us to the light. Keep us forever in thy path, we pray, lest our feet stray from the place, our God, where we met thee, lest our hearts drop with the wine of the world, we forget thee. shadow beneath thy hand. May we forever stand true to our God, true to our native land. It is in the matchless, marvelous, majestic name of Jesus the Christ that I pray. And may God bless you and keep you is my prayer. Amen.
Now comes the good part, breakfast. All right, we want you to enjoy yourself. Think of Dr. Martin Luther King as we share some peace, some love, some fellowship. After breakfast or towards the end of breakfast, we'll start moving this along a little bit, perhaps as you can, right? So we can keep, get you out a little bit earlier. And again, if there's anything you need from us, you've yet to find your seat, ask anyone. They're here to help you. And by the way, be sure to thank the waiters and waitresses that are working very hard for you this morning.
Absolutely, because they had to get here very early so that things could be set up. After the breakfast, it'll be the introduction of the CAC Junior Board by Sheila Smith.
you a question, and that is, what is in your life's blueprint? Number one in your life's blueprint should be a deep belief in your own dignity, your own worth, and your own somebodyness. Don't allow anybody to make you feel that you are nobody. Always feel that you count. Always feel that you have worth. And always feel that your life has ultimate significance. You must have, as a basic principle, the determination to achieve excellence in your various fields of endeavor. You're going to be deciding as the days and the years unfold what you will do in life, what your life's work will be. Once you discover what it will be, set out to do it, and to do it well.
Because of you, I have a dream too.
Without Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., we wouldn't have equal rights or opportunities.
Hello, I am Alice Westery, President of the Community Affairs Committee. Welcome each and every one of you to our 34th annual Martin Luther King Breakfast. We are so grateful and so happy and enthusiastic about your being here, and we would just like to welcome you and thank you for being here. The Dr. Martin Luther King Breakfast is a breakfast where we actually look at the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King. If it were not for the Honorable Dr. Martin Luther King, I would not be standing here today, nor would I be able to advocate in the community and do the things that I'm able to do if it had not been for this wonderful spirit, this great beacon of light, who went before me and left a legacy in order that all of us would be able to achieve the greatest heights possible and the purposes that we have been designed to do. I welcome you to the Martin Luther King 34th Annual Breakfast to celebrate the legacy of the Honorable Dr. Martin Luther King.
Paul and Silas found in jail, had no money for to go to bail. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on, hold on, hold on. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on. Paul and Silas began to sound. Jail door open and they walked out. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on. Hey, hold on. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on.
If a society at peace with itself, a society that can live with its conscience, that would be a day not of the white man, not of the black man. That would be the day of man as man.
Good morning. My name is Bob Corley, and I want to welcome you to the 34th Annual Martin Luther King Unity Breakfast. I'm one of the founders of the breakfast. Back in 1986, I was fortunate enough to be able to work with Odessa Woolfolk, Bob Boswell, and other members of the Community Affairs Committee. I was the director of the National Conference of Christians and Jews, and we were one of the co-sponsors of that first breakfast. That first breakfast was held in a relay house, the old relay house, at the Bank for Savings building, and we had 75 people attend because we didn't think there would be very many people there. we had so much success, there were so many people who wanted to come. We moved it to the Harvard Center, and we enlarged that crowd to the point we couldn't get everybody in the Harvard Center. We moved it from the Harvard Center to the Convention Center in 1989, and we've been at the Birmingham Jefferson Convention Center ever since because the crowds have been so large. We want this community to come together to remember the legacy of Dr. King. Dr. King helped to make Birmingham what it is today. This city would not be, this county would not be as great as it is without the work of Dr. King and Fred Shuttlesworth and the others who were part of the civil rights movement here. And that's why one of the co-sponsors from the beginning has been the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. So we're very pleased for you to be part of this morning. We welcome you. We ask you to go out and have a great day of service.
Good morning. I am Aaron Carlton, the Executive Director of the Community Affairs Committee in Birmingham, Alabama. We have been celebrating 34 years of Dr. King's legacy. Let's keep Dr. King's dream alive.
Good morning. My name is Sarah Collins Rudolph. I would like to welcome you to the Martin Luther King Unity Breakfast. I am among my friends. This is Carol Robinson. This is my sister Addie Mae Collins. This is Denise Van Dale. And this is Cynthia Wesley. Martin Luther King is very important to me because he changed the nation. And people know that what really happened in the 16th Street Baptist Church. Thank you for coming because it means a lot to me. Thank you.
What murdered these little girls? Every Negro who refuses to go down to try to register and vote participated in that act. What murdered these poor girls? The apathy and the complacency of many Negroes who will sit down on their stools of do nothing and not engage in creative protest to get rid of this evil system.
God be the glory for all of the things that he has done. I'm Bishop Calvin Woods, President of the Birmingham Metropolitan Chapter of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, and also National Vice President of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, better known as Dr. King's organization. Apostle of love and nonviolence who came to Birmingham in 1963 and led thousands in the fight against segregation and discrimination. As a result of his leadership, Dr. Shuttlesworth, my brother, others, males, females, and children. The Civil Rights Bill was born as a result of his leadership here in Birmingham. Additionally, the Public Accommodations Bill was born here. Many doors were opened because of the dynamic leadership, the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. He taught us in love, he taught us with nonviolence, and that spirit lives today. As a result of that type leadership, we have accomplished much, but we must continue to labor. We must continue to fight against darkness and things that would rise up to pit one group against another one. Together we stand, and divided we fall.
My poor little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content into that character. I have a dream today.
Hello, I am Sheriff Mark Petway, the first African-American sheriff here in Jefferson County. And I'd like to welcome you to the annual Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Unity Breakfast. Now, there's a couple things I would like to say. But first, I would like to thank God for sending men like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. here for us, who paved the way that we may have the right to vote and other civil rights. I stand on the shoulder of a man like Dr. Martin Luther King to be in the office of sheriff right here in Jefferson County. And lastly, it is upon us to keep the dream alive, to tell the next generation about leaders such as Dr. Martin Luther King. So let's do that. Keep the dream alive.
Good morning, and welcome to the 34th Annual Dr. Martin Luther King Unity Breakfast. I am Lenise Washington, and I am proud to serve as the first African-American woman to be elected as District Attorney in the state of Alabama, as well as Jefferson County in 2016. I am a product of the dream, and I want to express and implore you and everyone that's listening to continue to fight to keep the dream alive. Thank you. God bless.
Good morning. I'm Danny Carr, District Attorney for Jefferson County. As I walk through Kelly Ingram Park, I realize that I stand on the shoulders of many. I realize that as a result of the courage and the leaders of the civil rights movement, that I am able to hold the office of District Attorney. But I also realize that it's because of a dream of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And I am today District Attorney of Jefferson County.
Good morning, and welcome to the Martin Luther King Unity Breakfast. I'm Jimmy Stevens, President of the County Commission, and on behalf of the County Commission, welcome to this wonderful and glorious occasion. We're here to remember and to commemorate Dr. Martin Luther King, his life, and his legacy.
Good morning. I'm Commissioner Sheila Tyson of Jefferson County. I'm also a member of the Community Affairs Committee. I'm here to welcome you to the Martin Luther King Jr. 34th Commemoration Breakfast and Service Day. Also, I would like for you to remember, it's 100 years of suffering for women's right to vote, and have a great breakfast.
Hello, I'm Joe Knight, Jefferson County Commissioner for District 4. Welcome to the Martin Luther King Jr. Unity Breakfast. We welcome each and every one of you here to celebrate this day and for this man's accomplishments throughout the years. And to all the Jefferson County and Birmingham area residents, welcome and thank you for being here.
Good morning. I bring you greetings on behalf of the Jefferson County Commission in Jefferson County, Alabama. I serve proudly as your President Pro Tem, and I want you to know that I welcome each and every one of you to one of the nation's largest unity breakfasts. It is the Martin Luther King Unity Breakfast in its 34th year. And listen, let me tell you something. We took an action just only a week and a half ago to memorialize the last remaining jail cell right on the 7th floor of the Jefferson County Courthouse in Birmingham, Alabama. And listen, I want to show you very quickly, love is what love does. And if it were not for the love of people, Dr. Martin Luther King, he made the difference. And so I want you to know, in these jail cells, I want you to look very quickly to see that Reverend Ralph Abernathy, Reverend Wayne Watts, A.D. King, they all came because they believe in the dream. Now listen, I was the first African American to serve in 2009 as the first Birmingham City Councilor for the city of Birmingham. And now I proudly stand as the first woman for County Commission District 1. I'm living the dream. You are too. It's our responsibility to keep King's dream alive. I'm inspired. How about you? Let's make today a great day of service.
Good morning. I'm Jimmy Coleman, President of Citizen Advisory Board. I'd like to welcome you to the Martin Luther King Unity Breakfast. He's done so much for Birmingham and the nation. We just like to say thank you.
Hi, my name is Steve Calloway, and I'm the mayor of Hillsboro, Oregon. Hillsboro is my beloved community.
And I'm Joan Calloway, wife of Steve.
And this is our first trip to the South. It's my first trip to Birmingham, Alabama. And what I knew about Birmingham was what I learned as a boy watching TV news and reading Life magazine. And frankly, it wasn't a great picture. And to come here today has been so powerful, to walk through the 16th Avenue Baptist Church and to see the exhibit and to be moved in such incredible ways. I have been so impressed by the beautiful people that I've met, and I feel such an amazing healing spirit. That is not just a healing spirit in Birmingham, it's for me and others who are coming to Birmingham for the very first time.
Hi, I'm David French from Westerville, Ohio, and I'm Scottish American.
I'm Amy French, and I'm from Westerville, Ohio, and I'm Caucasian.
I'm Manny Rosa, I'm from New York City, and I'm Puerto Rican.
I'm Felix Sevilla, I'm from Staten Island, New York, and I'm also Puerto Rican.
I'm Bertie French, I'm from Westerville, Ohio, and I'm a mix of it all.
You know, Dr. Martin Luther King, to me, is a hero in all fashions. He's a man that sacrificed his life, literally, to give everybody a voice.
Without Dr. Martin Luther King, us women would not be able to do half the things that we're able to do now. We have equal rights with everyone else, and it's an awesome thing that he's done for us.
It was part of my era. I grew up with Martin Luther King. I visited him in Memphis, Atlanta, and now here in the beautiful Birmingham, and I want to keep the dream alive.
It's very important that we recognize where we come from and be strong and positive.
Dr. King is the reason I have equal opportunities.
Please keep King's dream alive. Keep Dr. King's dream alive for my generation from all Mississippi.
Thank you, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. for letting me know that I'm strong and I'm beautiful.
Please keep Martin Luther King's dream alive for my generation.
Please keep King's dream alive.
We've got some difficult days ahead. But it really doesn't matter with me now, because I've been to the mountaintop. I don't mind. Like anybody, I would like to live a long life. Longevity has its place. But I'm not concerned about that now. I just want to do God's will. And He's allowed me to go up to the mountain. And I've looked over, and I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land.
Good morning. I'm Johnny Johnson, Treasurer for the Community Affairs Committee of the City of Birmingham. And I would like to take this opportunity to welcome you to this breakfast this morning. Now, this breakfast is in celebration of a man who meant so much to this city of Birmingham. And we know him as Dr. Martin Luther King, who was an awesome person who had skills. He not only was a civil rights worker, but he was an organizer. He was the kind of person that this city needed to move it from the position that it was in to the position that we're in now, and the position that we're going to be in as we continue to do the work of Dr. King. And that's the role that you can play in doing this kind of thing. Now, what did he do? What did Dr. King do in the city of Birmingham? Well, because of Dr. King, I, as a black man, a little boy from Evergreen Bottom, became chief of police in this city. Who would have thought of it? But that was the work of Dr. King. And you look at the fire chiefs, you look at all other people who gained position in this city merely because a man decided that he wanted to give them himself and do something for somebody else. Now, you can do that too. You can make donations to this committee so that we can continue the work that we're doing in the city of Birmingham. Thank you so very much.
Check, there we go. How's breakfast going, all right? Good. All right, I want to bring up my buddy Sheila Smoot, and I talk about Smoot, and that's like, that's like a hurricane. You know what I mean? She's involved in so much stuff, and she's the person that makes sure you're getting taken care of, you're not getting cheated, and she's a radio person, and Snoop.
Oh yes, we work together, and she is an icon, and I think I'm a little taller than she is though, but yeah, she's a great woman, and Sheila's going to come, and following that, we will have the introduction, Sheila's going to do the introduction of the CAC Junior Board, and then the foot soldier monument by former Mayor William A. Bell Sr. and his lovely wife, Dr. Sharon Bell, in that order, Sheila.
I'm very honored to be here today. Benny Miles and I go way back. And Rick Carley and I started at NBC 13. That was my first station as the bureau chief for NBC 13. I've been at all the stations, and I'm very honored to be able to do that. A lot of people don't last long in this town. But I am very glad to still be standing along with all of you pioneers. I see so many pioneers in this room. This table is not reflective of. I see pioneers to my right, I see pioneers to my left, I see pioneers in the clergy community, the corporate community, the homeless community. I see pioneers. As a child that grew up in Flint, Michigan, poison water and all that, I never thought they would release that again. I was honored to be offered a job at NBC 13 as the bureau chief, and I never thought I'd stay but 2 years. And I've been here more than 20. And I'm very honored to pass along the torch to the next generation. The first person I met on a story was Chief Johnny Johnson. I had never seen a black police chief, and I thought that was good, and he often helped us out as journalists to make us great. I didn't know he was doing that at that time. But my probably biggest feat, I'm currently the news director for Summit Media, a consultant around the state of Alabama, was being elected as the first black female county commissioner for the largest county out of 67 counties in the great state of Alabama. It was not a dream, but I did get to go up to that jail cell when I was elected, and it was not memorialized, and I just could not believe that I was standing in such a powerful town. I met the first black mayor. I met the first black chief. I met the first black female chief, Renetta Nunn. There were so many firsts in this town, I became so dizzy. I met the first black president of Alabama Power. I met so many people, all of who guided me to the legacy that I leave here today. So what better thing to do when you have such a legacy at such an early age? And then I realized that they told me I was the youngest person still to this day ever elected to the Jefferson County Commission. And that was no easy task. That was probably the most frightful, the most frightful job I have ever had. It was also the most rewarding. God leads you where you need to be led, even though you don't want to take that journey. And you take it anyway, because you have to lead others, as Dr. King said, to another land. And with that said, it is our duty to make sure that we lead our millennials, our Z generation, and whatever else name y'all want to come up with them for, to the next. Because see, we don't want to repeat mistakes. And for all of you leaders out there, and there's tons of you from different cities and different walks of life, I would encourage you to take up what the CAC mission has been, to lead another generation so they don't have the pitfalls, so they don't lead in the wrong way, and so they don't have to hear the tears and the cries and the screams behind the closed doors that I had to hear. So you'll never hear that story, but all of you have those stories. So today, my charge for you is to create a scenario where you lead the next generation. And to my left, I would like them to stand as I call their name. I call them the Still City generation. CAC, Still City Generation. Aaron Carlton asked me to put this group together. I was asked by a corporation a long time ago to also put together the first group, the group where the mayor came from, and we will remain that as our secret, Mayor Woodfin. But I was asked by a CEO in this town to put together 8 folks before this group, and we were told to lead. The C-suite involves clergy, community, communications, and corporate. The C-suite will also work in workforce, community, and economic development. They will also work in fields of technology and lead the way there. But most of all, one of my goals and one of our goals is to make sure that the C-suite gives back. So they have a charge of philanthropy, because you have to teach people to give back to their own communities. At this time, I'd like to introduce to you, if you would stand in the front, our chairperson, Madeline Bowie, is a teacher at Vestavia Day School. She is the chair. She is also a real estate investor and president of DNA Housing LLC. She is German, and she is Inslee. Her dad is from Inslee, and she lives in Inslee. Madeline, please stand. Number 2, Patrick Talley. He is a co-chair of CAC Steel City Generation. He is an account supervisor at O2 Ideas. He is originally from Montevallo. Farhana Ali, she is Pakistani, and she is a real estate investor and president from DHS LLC. Our next member is Kimberly Meadows Clark. She is the first female owner of a sports team, the Magic City Surge, American Basketball Association. Kimberly Meadows Clark. Number 5, Jeremy Irvin. He is the UAB Assistant Director of Employment, Recruiting to Relations. Number 6, Yvette Harper is in pharmacy support. She's a specialist with Blue Cross Blue Shield. Sandy Johnson, she's a neighborhood revitalization specialist and real estate investor. Jessica Layton, a marketing manager with an MBA, and she owns a company called Shooting Your Shot. Mr. Don Mosley, attorney, lawyer, judicial administrator, Jefferson County Family Court. Number 10, Ashley Smith, president of the Birmingham Association of Black Law Students at the Birmingham School of Law. She is a certified paralegal. Number 11, CEO, attorney Joy Travis, who I met when she was at a bar at Jim and Nick's, working her way through law school, barely enough to afford anything. Now she's an attorney at law, and she currently sits on the Birmingham Law School Association Foundation Board. Ant Washington, he's a research specialist and community education at UAB Alabama Vaccine Research Clinic. And last but not least, the youngest of this group just turned 18 years old. He is a student at Jackson Olin High School. He is also the owner of Currency Apparel and just got off the road for a fashion show with his merchandise. That is your 2020 CAC Steel City Generation. Give them a hand. And thank you for the opportunity to lead the next legacy of leaders.
You know, when Sheila was on local TV, they give her 90 seconds to talk. Boy, that's true. Just kidding, you know I love you. Benny's here with more special guests today.
As I said earlier, we'll have a Foot Soldiers Monument by former Mayor William A. Bell Sr. and Dr. Sharon Bell. And following that, right before the presentation of the essay contest winners, we had a young lady who was to perform earlier but did not get the message, so we will bring her up. That is Ursula Smith Brown Sugar Nutcracker after Dr. Bell's.
How about that special introduction to the bells? That was my back hurts just watching that. That is some great stuff. All right, here we go. Ready? Mr. William Bell and Dr. Sugar.
Good morning, Birmingham family. Good morning. We are not the brown sugar nutcrackers, but I can do this. In 1965, foot soldiers from across Alabama answered the call and peacefully marched for voting rights for African Americans. They endured unspeakable violence, vicious beatings, and discrimination, but their persistence, their passion, and their prayers led to the passage of the Voting Rights Act of 1965. At the White House ceremony on the 50th anniversary of the Voting Rights Act, Congressman John Lewis told the crowd these marchers weren't famous. They didn't really have any money, and some of them never learned to read or to write. But they did change our nation, our state, and our city for the better. These are the ordinary people who have not ever had any footnotes, but they were our foot soldiers. And they took up the cause and marched for change in all of our communities. At the International Slavery Museum, when I visited in Liverpool, England, Birmingham is prominently mentioned, and pictures of our children from the Children's March are displayed in Liverpool, the capital of the transatlantic slave trade. One of those children who was pictured and depicted was Janice Wesley, a friend and colleague of mine, Reverend Michael Wesley's sister. In 1963, before the Voting Rights Act was passed, Birmingham was the most segregated city in the United States of America. And a 16-year-old Janice Wesley said that she wanted her freedom. So she and over 2,000 young people, they marched, they sang, and they were jailed as part of the Birmingham Children Crusade. Some of the battles were won because innocent blood was shed. We paid a price for the freedoms that were obtained. Some of us were bitten by dogs, some of us were hosed, and others were jailed. 6 innocent young people died during those children's marches. Janice and the thousands of children like her were willing to risk everything they had because they wanted their freedom. Freedom is not free. It was a mighty fine thing to see thousands of children marching and standing up, singing, as my grandchildren were singing yesterday in church, "Ain't nobody gonna turn me around." Because as Dr. King said, a man can't ride your back unless it's bent. We applaud all of our foot soldiers on their journey to justice, and we thank them.
Thank you to my darling wife, who each and every morning takes her left foot and put it in my back and kick me out of bed and tell me every day to go do something great. To the mayor, to the elected officials, to those who have gathered here today to give honor to all of the people who have made it possible for us to gather here this morning. To Madam Westry, members of the CAC who continue to keep the dream alive. I want to thank you for the opportunity to serve as co-chair along with my wife, the fundraising aspect for the Foot Soldiers Monument. In 2015, the ambassador to UNESCO in Geneva had a dinner and invited 23 members of the subcommittee on World Heritage locations. About half of those members were from African countries, including South Africa, the Republic of Congo, Kenya, and several other African nations. And each one talked about the impact that Birmingham had on the freedoms that they now have in those countries. How they used Birmingham as the model for freedom, to bring themselves out of colonial rule, to lift themselves up, to become leaders of their own. During that meeting, I reminded them that every oppressed people have the right to determine their own future. But also every oppressed people have an obligation to continue to tell the story. When the children of Israel started out from Egypt. They were commanded by Moses for each tribe to gather up a stone and to take that stone from Egypt with them. And when the youngsters questioned them as to why we take these stones with us, the elders said, one day there'll come a time when the old will pass, and there won't be a witness to the truth that happened. And that when someone see that stone can remind them of the history and the pain and the suffering that it took for them to come out of bondage. Today, we're asking you to honor some stones right here in our community. The stones are the foot soldiers who made it possible to give power and strength to the words of Dr. King. Because just like when those young dancers came out, they gave energy to this room. We heard all the words that were going on, and the words were great, and the words were honest and sincere. But the power and energy that those young people brought is indicative and representative of the foot soldiers, many of them who were just as young as those dancers who walked out there. They put their lives on the line to make sure that we all can live a better life. Well, we don't want time to pass. And for there to come a time when people forget, who were the foot soldiers? What were they all about? We want to create another stone. And that stone is this monument that's on this pledge card. That stone will continue to tell the story of the young people who put their lives on the line, the young people who lost their lives, the young people who suffered, died for us to have the pleasures that we have today. Now my wife told me that I'm going to pledge $20. I'm sorry, $1,000. We're going to, we're going to pledge $1,000 to keep this stone alive. And I know many of you, y'all get up every morning, y'all go in some of the tall buildings downtown, y'all make good salaries, good checks, but you wouldn't be able to do that were it not for the foot soldiers. You wouldn't be able to put on that necktie every day, or wear that beautiful scarf around that suit that you have every day, were it not for the sacrifices. We're asking you to participate by filling out these pledge cards. We're also asking each neighborhood organization to commit to supporting the Foot Soldiers Monument. Because once upon a time, there was a time you couldn't walk into City Hall. You had to get permission to walk into City Hall. Now as neighborhood leaders, you're making decisions that impact the direction of City Hall. So we're asking every organization, every individual, every corporation to please make a pledge and keep that pledge and commitment so that we can build this stone, this stepping stone to the foot soldiers who made it possible for all of us to live a better life. Thank you, be blessed, and let's continue to move forward. Thank you. On your table, you have a card. Don't leave it there, fill it out. Someone will come around to the table and pick up your card. Please make a pledge today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's once again thank the Bells for their pledge of $20. We appreciate what they're doing. That's a really cool thing. You know, young people today are so just smart and resilient and worldly and driven. You know, I've got 2 kids in college, so I'm broke right now, but my freshman is, my girl's a freshman at NYU, and she wants to save the world. You know, I come back from Publix with a plastic bag. Why isn't it paper? You know, I use the plastic straw. Why isn't it paper? You know, Dad, your generation ruined it. We got 37 years before the world ends. But, you know, her commitment to change, I mean, her resolve to make the world a better place is amazing. And she's just one kid. And we got some young adults with us, young men and women with us today. And I just want to say thank you for kind of sticking up for us and sticking up for the world. And I say that because we're leading into these essay contest winners. And all sorts of kids throughout the metro area wrote what Martin Luther King Jr.'s legacy meant to them. We have Hoover represented among our winners list, Hueytown, John Carroll Catholic, Birmingham City Schools. They all poured their hearts out in writing essays on what this man's legacy was all about. And it wasn't probably too tough for these kids because they're that aware, like my daughter. They're so sharp. They know history, they know the present, and certainly they know the future because we hear about it all the time. So without further ado, let's bring up Mary Jones. She has more to tell you about these contest winners who've been very special.
Good morning. We, the CAC committee, again welcome you. But more importantly, we give a special shout out to our students who take the, I call the audacity and the challenge to write about the topic that we choose about Dr. King. We want to thank each of them, their parents, the principal, the counselor, and those little chummy friends of theirs who uplift them and tell them they can do it. What you thought, each one of them wrote about what they thought about Dr. Vincent Hardis and what he meant when he referred to Dr. King as the innocent hero. None of the movement would have been resolved, according to one student, if not for a driving force that looked past expectation of society and dared to find a solution, helped minorities and the oppressed. Another wrote that we hope that you will continue your path, and we hope that you will be challenged continuously by your daily experience in remembrance of Dr. King. So with that, our students, we will name them in the order in which they won the contest. Our first prize winner is Jackson Hanley of John Carroll High School. I don't know if Mr. Hanley is here. I'm going to charge some of their absence to a lot of this noise that's being made outside and the new roads and all of that. I know a number of them called me about what's the best way to get there. But anyway, if you're not here, we still love you dearly. Miss Chloe Grace Arnold, second place winner, Hoover High School. Jalen Brown Fair, third place winner, Hueytown. And Mr. Nigel Keppel, Shades Valley High School. He was the fourth place winner. So each year we have a cadre of students who take the challenge from our county and city schools. And I just think that's an awesome venture for each one of them as young people to want to tell us and remind us of what Dr. King meant to the world. So again, I say thank you, and we appreciate you, and we dearly love you. And your prize will be coming, your money will be coming. So don't think that because we didn't have the check yet. Johnny, where are you? I blame it on you. Because the check is not here in the envelope today, that you won't get it. So thank you again, and we love you.
Okay, moving right along. Right now, we're going to have greetings from the Honorable Terry Sewell, United States Congresswoman. Terry, are you here? Okay. And next, we will have the incomparable, the Honorable Wandalyn Gavan, Alabama House of Representatives. Following her, the Honorable Randall L. Woodford, Mayor, City of Birmingham. Wandalyn.
sisters are up here today saying I can do it. But I've been a little ill. And Benny just said it's okay. I've had the honor and the privilege of working for not only the first African American mayor of the city of Birmingham. I had the honor of working for Mayor William Bell and Dr. Kincaid. When I look out in this room, across this audience, and I have the privilege of representing the area, the Civil Rights District, where 4 little girls were killed. And every year I come here, I thank Bishop Woods. I thank Aaron Carlton. But also, as I look out across this room, I look at the diversity. And most important, I look at how far we've come as a people. But I also go back to just a few years ago. And I'm not gonna hold you long because I don't want you to clap for me because I stood up or I didn't sit down in enough time. But I think about President Obama just a few years ago when he spoke about amazing grace. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound. God's grace, a sufficient grace, a grace that you can't get a PhD from, a BA, or any type of doctorate. I'm talking about God's grace right now. Yeah, y'all ought to be clapping. I'm talking about a grace that has sustained this breakfast, one of the largest for over 34 years, next year 35 years. God's grace. A grace that if not for him, I wouldn't be standing here right now. A grace that on a Sunday morning, 4 little girls went to church. A grace that Dr. Martin Luther King spoke about just before he died. A grace. A grace that he spoke about if he sneezed. A grace. And I heard somebody say, my Lord. Yeah, my Lord. A grace that blacks, whites, Jews, and Gentiles can sit in a city once known as Birmingham, now called Birmingham, with one of the youngest black mayors in the country. God's grace. And I'm taking my seat right now because my hope, and I leave you with these words, is built on nothing less but Jesus' blood and righteousness. I dare not trust the greatest frame, but I wholly stand on Jesus' name. God's grace. Birmingham, we stand today on God's grace. God's grace has kept us. God's grace has kept this breakfast for 34 years. And when people have walked away, I can see Dr. Martin Luther King that last day talking about the promised land. You may not get there with me, but he said we'll all get there. God's grace. And let me say this before I sit down, because I don't want to go back to Montgomery. If my colleagues are in the House, I see Representative Rod Scott, I'm not sure Senator Smitherman is here, but my colleagues are here because if I don't recognize them and get back to Montgomery, I may not be able to stand up here, but I want to make sure I recognize them. But I just still, at this point, say, to God be the glory for all the things that He has done. God bless you and God bless you.
Thank you, Wanda, better known as Diva. Okay, and we're going to move right along again. Better known history fact, Jefferson County Sheriff Mark Petway, the first African-American sheriff in Jefferson County. And he hit the ground running, and it's still running. And after he finishes, we'll have a young lady who's going to be singing a song. Her name is This will be the district attorney, Danny Carr will come. And after that, my colleague and my cohort will come up. Mark?
Good morning, Birmingham. I'm honored to stand before you this morning. There's so many guests in this room, so I'm going to attempt to do this very succinctly and fast. But I have a lot of people in this room who are elected officials who go out of their way every day to advocate on behalf of the residents of Birmingham and Jefferson County. And at this time, if you are an elected official in this room, could you please stand and be recognized? Thank you for what you do. And it's good to have partners at every level and branch of government, all on one accord advocating for citizens of Birmingham and Jefferson County. There's another group I need to acknowledge, and those are our neighborhood leaders and community leaders. Could you all please stand? I think a lot of you all are in this corner over here. Bishop Woods, I think you would appreciate this last group I want to acknowledge. It is a group of students from WJ Christian. In lieu of the actual community and neighborhood leaders representing Roebuck Springs neighborhood, they had a little friendly competition at the K-8 school and sent children in the stead of the adults. So if those students could please stand and be acknowledged for being here on behalf of your neighborhood. This last group I just acknowledged, these young people who are middle school students, at an early age can appreciate this breakfast that has been in existence for 34 years. Today we celebrate a man whose dream has become a blueprint for the reality we hope to attain. In the spirit of that dream in recent weeks, my mind has been on a great visionary in his own right, the great Congressman John Lewis, who we now know is currently battling his own health struggles. But I think we're all reminded there's never been a fight Congressman Lewis hasn't faced head on. And there's never been a hurdle too high for him to climb. I think we all in this room can agree he is the embodiment of victory, and our prayers should continue to be with him. But a few years ago, the congressman shared a quote I think resonates with our city today. And he said, sometimes you have to not just dream about what could be. You get out and you push, and you pull, and you preach, and you create a climate and environment to get those in high places, to get men and women of goodwill empowered to act. I believe that is a call to action not just for communities seeking change, but for those in positions of leadership as well. It reminds me of what Dr. King laid out so many years ago when he emphasized the fierce urgency of now, the need to take swift action in the face of injustice. And so our charge today is to make King's dream a reality with a fierce urgency and wholehearted dedication to the pursuit of justice. And I don't just mean in the realm of social justice. Look no further than your own block, your own street, your own neighborhood, one of your 23 communities that make up the city of Birmingham, Alabama, where a mother can be safe where she lives, where her child can have opportunity, whether it's college or work. There is work to be done. The fierce urgency of now tells us that none of us in this room or city can no longer wait. We, at this breakfast this morning, in our suits, in our dresses, have a job to do when we go out of this room. It was said earlier, but it should be reminded, today is not an off day. And that's why, in the words of Congressman Lewis, we push, we pull, we preach, but perhaps most importantly, we provide. We provide our community with the tools they need to achieve their goals, to achieve their dreams, to achieve their destiny. We provide a listening ear and a helping hand for those seeking guidance or offering new ideas. And yes, we provide hope for residents looking to break generational curses and are ready to rewrite their stories. As we go into the 34th year of this breakfast, 2020 is here, and our vision is clear. And that is to make dreams for the people in this city a reality. It's what we've been called to do, because we can't let our residents down. And so from the dream of King to the fortitude of the congressman, a united Birmingham is unstoppable. And I think I should repeat that, because sometimes you have to repeat things for people. A united Birmingham is unstoppable. Thank you.
Good morning, United Breakfast. I bring you greetings from Jefferson County Sheriff's Office. I'm Sheriff Mark Petway. And what you just observed just a few minutes ago was a couple levels of government working together. The mayor reached out to me and asked to go ahead. That was very quick for government to be able to work just that fast. So we want to be able to do that at all times. And I'm glad to see my sister up here today. God bless you. And we pray for you daily. And we expect to see you back 100%. A 5-day sentence. Now, that jail has a remnant left behind from where Dr. Martin Luther King was housed, right across the street in the civil courthouse. I reached out to the commissioners, Commissioner Scales and Commissioner Tyson, and they said we need to get a resolution made to make sure that we memorialize the remnant of this jail. They called out to the county attorney, Mr. Theo Lawson. I have never seen government work that fast, and overnight we had a resolution. And on January the 9th, the next day, it was presented to the commissioners at the commissioner meeting, and they all were in favor of it. So I say thank you, Commissioner Scales and Commissioner Tyson and Attorney Lawson. We thank you for your speedy work to make sure that it was done. Now, I had a lot of friends to tell me and relatives that they have visited Africa lately. And while they were over there, they had an opportunity to visit the place where Nelson Mandela was housed in the jail. They said it was awesome. And I told them about the jail that we have here in Jefferson County, which has been a hidden treasure for many years. They said that's impactful for the county to be able to tell their story and for others to be able to see the jail in which Dr. Martin Luther King was last housed before his assassination. So let's tell our story, the full story about civil rights here in Birmingham. He was here. We need to tell the world, show the world what he did for us. It's because of him that I'm able to sit in the office of sheriff today. So today is a day of service. Let's also remember the dream. Continue to tell the story to the next generation. God bless you and have a blessed day. My big sister just got on me. She said, remember to mention your wife. So, Vanessa, please stand up so they can see you here. Thank you.
Good morning. Let me first say, Representative Gavan, that was good looking out for the sheriff too, by the way. Good looking out. To the 34th MLK Unity Breakfast Committee, to all the elected officials who are represented here this morning, to the mayor of this city, Mayor Woodfin, to all of our clergy and all of our neighborhood leaders, and to our foot soldiers who made it possible for me to stand here today as district attorney. And let me also say, because you know I'm a mama's boy, to my mother, who's here today, Ms. Regina Carr-Holt, and to my partner fighting crime, DA Lanice Washington. Will you please stand and wave your hand? I'll be brief because I want you to carry these words with you, and I'll be very brief. But sometimes nails of doubt and planks of hatred builds the perfect stage. We need to take that stage and show unity. We need to take that stage and show courage. We need to take that stage and make sure that our young people who don't believe in their dreams understand that they have the opportunity to be whatever they want to be. And it's up to us to do that. But I really want to leave you with this. Service is the rent that you pay for each and every day that you're here on earth. And that rent is due every day. So when you walk out this door, please pay your rent today. God bless you and God bless the people of Jefferson County.
Well, Mark, you'll be able to go home tonight, so thank you. When you get an opportunity to, in your program, there is a story written about the original foot soldier, Mrs. Myrna Carter Jackson. So when you get an opportunity to, please read that, because were it not for her, along with some others, none of us would be here today. Thank you, Mrs. Jackson. At this time, we have greetings from Councilor Stephen Hoyt on behalf of the Birmingham City Council.
Former Miss Miles. Let me say good morning again and to bring greetings on behalf of the Birmingham City Council.
President Parker, President Pro Tem Alexandra. If you all are here, would you please stand? Councilor Barry Abbott, Councilor John Hilliard, Crystal Smillerman, Councilor Hunter Williams, Councilor Clinton Woods, Councilor Dr. Darrell Quinn. Are you here? Would you please stand where you are? Thank you for your work on behalf of the city here today. President Pro Tem, I see you up there instructing me. I think I did what I was asked to do. But I want to say that I got to go home too. Now the difference in some of the folk, my wife is an attorney, so I know I have to recognize. Daphne, would you stand there where you are? Is she here? There she is, okay. And let me also encourage us. There's a writer who says that the spirit of achievement is guided by the notion that success is an installment plan upon which we make daily payments until we maximize ourselves. So I want to challenge us today, not only today, but the days to come, to maximize. And we are challenged to empty ourselves each and every day. When I wake up in the morning, and at the end of the day, I'm empty, because we are challenged to give everything we got, our talents, our gifts, our abilities, and our capabilities to the glory of God. I challenge all of us this morning to maximize. God bless you.
I feel you, Mr. Hoyt. Being married to an attorney, we don't win too many arguments at home, do we? It's just, you win, case closed, it's over. The 2020 census is pretty interesting here. Where do we go from here? Where do things fall? It's way above my head, so we're gonna bring in the expert, Mr. Perry Macon, to tell us about that. He has the update.
Good morning. My name is Perry Macon. I'm a partnership specialist with the United States Census Bureau. The 2020 census is fastly approaching. April 1st is designated as Census Day. We are 71 days from the census. The census comes about every 10 years, in those years that end in 0, thus bringing us to 2020 for the next decennial census. As we may all know, the census is primarily focused on two major things. The first one, based on the population count, that count determines the number of seats that each state has in the U.S. House of Representatives. Every voting district will be redrawn according to that census data. Secondly, your responses to the census, the population count, helps determine for the 2020 census to the year 2030 will help determine how more than $675 billion per year will be allocated from the federal government. Those dollars are used to support transportation, health care, education, and many other ways those dollars come into the community. So it's very important that every individual is counted in the 2020 census. The goal of the census is to count everyone, to count them once, and to count them in the right place. This time, this census is unique in the fact that this will be the first time that the census questionnaire will be available to be completed online. Starting on March the 12th, during that week, every resident, every household, every apartment will receive an invitation letter in the mail. Included in that invitation letter to participate with the census will be an online link where if you have computer, smartphone, tablet that accesses the internet, you can complete your questionnaire online. There will also be a telephone number in that invitation letter where you can call that number and speak directly to a census taker and complete your questionnaire. After that week, reminders will come to those residents that has not completed the questionnaire. By the third reminder, the paper questionnaire will come with the third reminder. And then after that, the time will start where we will send individuals to the residents that has not responded to complete the questionnaire. So it's very important that everyone is counted that lives on the United States soil. Census information is held secure. No other agency can access anyone's personal identifiable information. No law enforcement agency, no type of benefit or support agency, no type of immigration agency. No one can access anybody's personal identifiable information. So your information is secure and well protected. So I want to encourage each of you not only to complete your questionnaire yourselves, but to encourage others to complete their questionnaire. There's opportunity to gain employment with the Census Bureau. I think earlier I saw a recruiting assistant come in. I don't know which way they went. If you're still here, stand and wave your hand. I saw a recruiting assistant come. Okay, they're back in the far corner. If you are interested in applying for work with the U.S. Census Bureau, you can see those individuals in the far back, and they can share employment information or job information with you. The application is online at 2020census.gov/jobs. We also want to ask those of you that can and those that will to get involved in promoting the census. Please take the opportunity to reach out to Commissioner Sheila Tyson's office. She leads the Jefferson County Complete Count Committee, which is an organization of community leaders that are sharing the message and doing outreach to motivate and encourage the community to complete their census questionnaire. The City of Birmingham also has a Complete Count Committee. You can reach out to the City of Birmingham and get involved. But nevertheless, find an area where you can help motivate your community to be counted. Again, the goal of the Census Bureau is to count everyone, to count them once, and to count them in the right place. I also want to say that as a partnership specialist with the U.S. Census Bureau, I myself, along with there are 5 others in Jefferson County, we are available to come speak to your organization, to set up exhibits at your events, or just to share information that will help get the message out about the census. Thank you for your time. Thank you for these moments. May God bless you. You have a great day.
Yeah, I had one of the men up here on the mid table said, hey, my mom's in the audience. She just texted me. She said, hey, tell Carly to speed things up. Okay, so hey, Regina is okay. Okay, if we draw this out a little longer, it's going to be the MLK Unity Lunch. They're cooking burgers right now. Whoops. Let's get to the really heart of this deal today. It's time to talk about a call to vote and a call to pledge. And let's start with the Honorable Sheila Tyson, as she is really going to share an important message.
Good morning. Good morning. I want to first thank you for coming. And it's a cold morning. And I know this has actually got to mean a lot to you in order for you to come out like this. I want to first thank Odessa, Miss Odessa Woodcock, for starting this breakfast. This breakfast has challenges. It has a lot of them. With the expenses of the breakfast going up, I know whether it hits your taste bud or not. This is what we have to use for using this venue. You know, the city of Birmingham helps out, but this breakfast belongs to our community. It's our charge to keep it. And I know someone told me to please don't tell them what happened this morning, but I got to. I got to tell you the truth. Don't you want me to tell you the truth? Someone came in after we left about 3 o'clock in the morning and moved all of the table numbers around. So you see it's still going on, don't you? I just wish I knew who did it. Just a woodshed out in the back. But I want you to know that this is our breakfast. This is our story. That we have to tell. We need more sponsors. We need more community people bringing their children. I brought my granddaughter. She's 6 years old. But this is our breakfast. These are our young people from Parker High School. I want them, they're coming up. Everyone should have a Birmingham pledge. They are going to read the pledge out and challenge you to sign the pledge card that's on your table. They will come by and pick the pledge card up. We have pledge forms that we are signing throughout the community. The pledge will go into a airtight capsule. When we put the statue up, it will be buried in the ground, also with a couple of videos. And that's part of our history. So years from now, we won't have to worry about people telling it their way. We're gonna tell it for them. So let the young ladies from Parker, they are a part of the Black Women's Roundtable. Let's give them a hand. We have an organization in 40 counties in the state of Alabama. We are in 32 states in the United States. And we serve underserved areas in the Black community. That's our job and our challenge. And I'm the convener.
Good morning. We are representatives of the Student Government Association at the historic Arthur Harold Parker High School and Black youth. Please turn to the back of your program, the black back cover, and stand to recite the pledge of us. Recite the pledge. I believe that every person has worth as an individual. I believe that every person is entitled to dignity and respect, regardless of race or color. I believe that every thought and every act of racial prejudice is harmful. If it is my thought or act, then it is harmful to me as well as others. Therefore, from this day forward, I will strive daily to eliminate racial prejudice from my thoughts and actions. I will discourage racial prejudice by others at every opportunity. I will treat all people with dignity and respect, and I will strive daily to honor this pledge, knowing that the world will be a better place because of my effort. Thank you.
We will, the people who don't have pledge cards, we will have them at the door on your way out.
James Williams with you now, a call to vote. You talked about pledging, let's talk about voting.
Good morning. Let me try that again. Good morning. Good morning. Jesus. You really just don't know, but anyway, you're going to choke me up if I do it. Let me do this first. I just want to thank, I'm James Williams and I'm from the SCLC in Miami and I'm representing the Miami chapter. But I will be remiss not to thank my national president, Bishop Calvin Woods, for inviting me to come down to speak. So could you please give him a round of applause? It's really an honor and a privilege to be standing on the shoulders of Dr. Martin Luther King, and I was tasked to come in and give you guys motivation to vote. So I will just give you two words. Donald Trump. Did that motivate you? I'll say it again, Donald Trump. Did that motivate you? Listen, voting is a very serious deal. Even though it only happens, every 2 years maybe, every 4 years, but there's something else I want to charge you guys with. I want to charge you with participation. We tend to think that once we vote, we're done. We've done our job. We have not done our jobs. We have to participate. Is that fair to say? I like interaction. Is that fair to say? Thank you, thank you. We have to participate. Look at the young folks in the room. When we're talking about voting, we should be so excited that they would draw from the excitement, don't you think? It would make them want to participate in the process. As Dr. Bell said earlier, when those kids came up and danced, it changed the energy of the room. When the foot soldiers stood and marched, it changed the energy of a time. Well, now we are charged to change the energy of a time. Again, I want to give you a reason to vote, and I'll say it again, Donald Trump. Lord Jesus, are y'all listening? Lord Jesus. Look at what voting did for us. We have a black district attorney. We have a black sheriff. We have the first black commissioner, right? Jefferson County. And now we have another sister in Jefferson County. Look at what voting has done, 2 this time. And we have so many black legislators. Let's just give all of that a round of applause, please. Think about it. There was a time when we said that we would never see a black president in our lifetimes. Did it happen? And we lived to see it. Again, it is so important that we get out and vote. I thank you guys for allowing me to come and speak, and please be blessed.
We'll be out before lunch. I couldn't resist. Right now we're going to have greetings from the Honorable Lashunda Scales, Jefferson County Commission. And everybody talks a lot about how well spoken Lashunda is and how much she knows. Well, she got it honest. Her father is right over there, John Ray. Thank you. And following Lashunda, then we will have a song by Evan Gibson. And following that, the introduction of our speaker by Pastor Clifton McMillan. Lashunda?
Good morning. I won't be before you long, but I think the reason why a lot of times we get to this part of the program and we start falling away on our attention, and it's only because we don't understand the significance of why we're here today. I believe that Dr. King and all of the civil rights leaders, they laid aside their dignity so I can stand proud and all these black elected officials could hold up your chest and sit at the table instead of being on the menu. So I really don't care if we go into lunch, but that's just Lashunda. Last year I told you in 2019, I told you to wake up from your stupor. And I asked the Lord today, what is it that he would have me to say to you? And he told me to tell you to rise up, take up your bed and walk. Rise up, take up your bed and walk. For you black people in this room, I ask the question, do you want to be made whole? The answers that we're looking for, that we're searching for, is in us. And that is why we must continue to tell the story. Our young people are lost. I want to thank the mayor for bringing up my students over on the eastern side of Birmingham, because I adopted them over 15 years ago, because I understand if you don't tell the story, they will continue to be ignorant about how we got here today. So because of that, I am an interactive speaker, so if you think you're gonna sit down on mama scales, that's a wrap before me. So when I told you about rise up, take up your bed and walk, today is supposed to be a great day of service. But you gotta be motivated to do it. The speaker before me talked about the two words, and I will leave you with this by saying, nobody should ever have to tell black folks, beg black folks to get up to vote. And let me also tell you this. The reason why a lot of folk don't care about how you get on Facebook and say what you don't like, and you don't like this president and you this, that, and that, they don't care because you don't go vote. You don't do what you need to do to change it. So that's why you're not hearing about March 3rd. You hear about the census, you hear about everything else, but you're not hearing about March 3rd. That's who determines who's going to take on the Donald. You understand that? March 3rd. So let me end by saying this. For anyone that is over the age of 60 and older, I want you to say this with me. Rise up. You said that week. Come on now. Rise up. I want you to look at a young person and tell them to rise up. You young people, I want you to stand up. Every person under the age of 65. Everybody under 65, come on. I know you can hear me. Under 65, stand up. We're gonna do a little exercise today. Remember I said if you are 65 and older, what are you supposed to be saying? I want you to look at these young folk and I want you to decree and demand for them to do what? And I want you young folk to say it with me. Take up my bed. And then do a foot movement and walk. Let's get it over again. Starting from the top, what you supposed to say if you 65 and older? You young people, what are you supposed to say? And do what? That's the challenge that I leave for you. Everybody stand up with me if you can stand. Come on, don't sit down yet, Mr. Speaker. Yeah, you got a fireball this morning. Stand up, everybody. If you can, and for those of you who have to sit, then do. And here's what we're going to do. I want you to take the person's hand next to you. And we're going to sing this one song together. And it's not a song, it's really a bridge. So don't think like, oh Lord, she got to sing it forever and ever. No. I'm giving you what God told me to give to you. You're going to rise up. You will take up your bed and walk. You're responsible for your home. You're responsible for your community. You are responsible for this county. You are responsible for this state and this nation. You will rise up and take up your bed and walk. I call myself the Harriet Tubman of the 21st century, 2020. And she said, y'all heard that song? I will go. I shall go to see what the end is going to be. Can you sing that with me? I open my mouth to the Lord, and I won't turn back. I will go. Come on. I shall go to see what the end's gonna be. Sing it to me. I open my mouth to the Lord, and I won't turn back. I will go. I shall go to see what the end's gonna be. God bless you.
Thank you. And now we'll have the introduction of the keynote speaker, Pastor Clifton McMillan.
Greetings, everyone. It's my task today to introduce to some and reacquaint with other the Reverend Dr. Robert O. White II. Reverend Dr. White is an educator, legal analyst, and pastor with over 25 years of professional experience. He has taught and is teaching in higher education. He has accumulated a wealth of experience over the course of his professional career. He has served in the House Legal Counsel for Alabama Education Association. He has served as an interim director of voter registration and elections for the Secretary of State's office. He has served in the government as a government liaison, a lobbyist for the government and professional development agencies as well. He's a co-founder of the first registered African-American alternative energy company in the state of Alabama. It was called Quail Energy. He has produced several radio talk shows, contributed to many scholarly works, published 3 books, and is currently finishing 3 more on the topic of civil rights and spirituality. He has given scores of scholarly presentations and has served on many academic and community commitments. He has served in leadership capabilities in the AFL-CIO, the Alabama Education Association, and is currently the president of the Alabama State University Education Association, and on the National Education Association editorial board. He is currently, along with his wife, who is here with him today, Sister Nichelle White, his wife of 25 years. If you raise your hand, Sister Nichelle. And he also has a daughter in college named Charity. But Reverend White embodies, I believe, the spirit of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Reverend White is an intellectual, he is an attorney, but he also is a practical practitioner of those things that he learns and studies. He is an instructor that loves young people and continues to remind them that their blackness does count for something positive. That it's all right to be black and educated. And it's all right to stand up for what you believe in. But more than that, that you have an accountability to do that.
Dr. White also pastors the City of Refuge Church in Montgomery, Alabama, and I believe he has another assignment as well. But I think the most important thing about Dr. White is that even as an attorney, he reminds me of present-day Nehemiah. With his skills, I'm sure it would have been very easy for him to go into some corporate law office, make millions of dollars, and forget where he came from. But he made a commitment to continue to pass the baton to those behind him so that there would be a better day. So I just want to encourage us today as we look at his accomplishments. I think the most important thing also is this, that Dr. White has real practical solutions for the problems that we're dealing with now. It's all right to talk about dreams, but dreams must someday become realities, and that moment is now. The next voice you will hear is none other than Reverend Dr. Robert O. White, educator, intellectual, lawyer, but more than anything else, man of God for the people. Please give him a big hand.
Good morning. I don't know where brother got that intellectual part from, but we will go from there. It is indeed a pleasure and an honor to be with you this morning, and I want to say that we had an awesome time last night at the reception. That band was out of this world, and so we really, I really thank you for the warm welcome that I have received here in Birmingham, to all of our elected officials, to our mayor and our councilmen and councilpersons and our commissioners and our legislators, all of those who are here, our ministers, our organizers and our foot soldiers. We definitely give acknowledgement to you. A few years ago, I was in Washington, D.C., and I was at the Holocaust Museum. And I went through the museum and saw the monuments and saw the exhibits and saw the commemoration of the genocide of a people. And I was overtaken with emotion by what I saw. And as I sat on the bench on the outside trying to grasp the reality of some things that I had witnessed, I overheard a family talking as they were leaving, and I think it kind of sets the tone for how I'm going to address you this morning. As the family was leaving, one of the children looked up to the parent and said, after having experienced everything that museum had to offer, the child looked to the parent and said, okay, what's next? Okay, what's next? Now, ladies and gentlemen, I've been in education all of my professional life, and I have taught at a university level for over 20 years. And with my experience and my observations, I've heard people say that we are losing our young people, when in all actuality, what we have lost is our republic. We have not lost just a generation. We've actually lost our country. And when Benjamin Franklin was being questioned by a woman by a person, she said, Mr. Franklin, what have you given us, a republic or a monarchy? He said, we've given you a republic if you can keep it. And ladies and gentlemen, it is my qualified opinion that we have lost control not only of our young people, but we have lost control of our government as well. It did not start now, and it has culminated up until this point. There's a philosopher whom Martin Luther King often quoted and often made reference to in his speeches, Soren Kierkegaard, who said that it is possible for a person to lose themselves and not even know it. And although we may have beautiful cars, although we may have the beautiful houses, we may have the titles, we may be the first African American this and that,
We may have all of these accolades, but we cannot avoid the elephant in the room. And the elephant in the room is that despite of all of these accomplishments, we have not been able to maintain the attention of our young people, which means that they have totally rejected those things that we have perpetrated them to be, not with our words, but with our actions. So we have to understand that while some of us individually may have made it, there is an entire population of people who remain stuck in the gutter. And the question is, who is going to take the stand? And who is going to follow in the footsteps of Martin Luther King and do those things necessary for the uplift of a people? How can we have a unity breakfast when we're not unified? How can we organize if we're not unified? How can we expect to integrate into another group of people who are organized and who are unified when we're still battling this light-skinned, dark-skinned stuff? How can we say that we have come so far when we are still judging each other by the complexions that we have? We're still calling each other names. We're still tearing each other down. And so while we are putting on very grand facades and making very grand speeches, the evidence of our failure is in the number of children who are dropping out of school, the number of children who don't know who they are, or the number of children who are trying to get degrees just so they can move and escape poverty rather than alleviate poverty and eliminate it like Dr. Martin Luther King would have us to do. Martin Luther King was not very popular. As a matter of fact, there were a lot of churches he couldn't preach in. As a matter of fact, that he would go to towns and people wouldn't allow him to speak. They wouldn't allow him to stay in the hotels. And these are black people. You must understand that Martin Luther King, the standard that he raised was not popular with whites, and it sure enough wasn't popular with black people. And we have to understand that also when we talk about service, which I don't use that word, I use culture. Culture has a far more responsible level than service. See, because if you think that helping your brother is community service and not a moral obligation and responsibility, then you will always be helping people whom you look down on when you actually think you're better than the person that you're helping. But I got news for you. You can't minister to somebody if you're ashamed of them. You can't teach a child if you're ashamed of them. And if you can't look into that child's face and see yourself gleaming back, as our Lord said, you need to be taught all over again. Because your knowledge, your education should teach you to appreciate your people, teach you to love your people, and be able to articulate the points that best represent your people. We look at our African American voter history and we say that our people don't vote. And I encourage you to read W.B. Du Bois's essay where he says why I don't vote. This man called me an intellectual, and I really don't like that at all. Not because of any other reason that when you make that statement, that means that you know something in and of yourself. I am nothing more than a product of those people who have been around me, who have poured into me, and those people who have shared their experiences with me. And if W.B. Du Bois said that he did not vote, and you can't find a lot of evidence of even a lot of the people who marched who voted, understand this, that they might be serving a referendum on black leadership. Is it possible that black people don't vote because they don't trust black leaders? Is it possible? Is it possible that they, your kinfolk, might know a little something more about you than you know about yourself? I ask my students, how many of you come from families that are not excited about your education? They may even kind of look at you as being somewhat of a traitor. Or they may look at your education as being something negative. How many of you? And the hands fly up. And I tell them, you know why? The reason why is because they don't think that your education is going to help them. They think that you're going to take that degree, make some money, and move away from them without them experiencing any material benefit from your advancement. Let me ask you a question. How many people have materially benefited from your advancements? How much money has gone from your pocket directly to help somebody? There was a church that I was at, people were an excuse for not giving to the poor. And they was, oh, Pastor, we don't have anything in the benevolent fund. Well, you got it in your pocket. You have it right there. Don't wait on a benevolent fund to give. But when you think that you're looking down on somebody, that comes from a misconception that Martin Luther King tried to dispel. One of the reasons why Martin Luther King was killed is because he revealed the true nature of poverty in this country. He revealed the fact that this country lives off of poverty. And the more poor people there is, the stronger the minority who holds everybody else in control is. And don't think African Americans have not bought into that same paradigm. Poverty is not immoral. And when you are poor, you are simply in a condition to where if there was a footstep that you could walk in, you would walk in. But what if the footsteps of those people who are in power now are being erased by themselves as they walk? What if they only want to be the spook in the room when they're supposed to be opening up the door for other brothers and sisters to walk in as well? How can we say that we have come far when we have not even properly documented our history and our culture? How can we say that we embrace our history and culture when our young people can't go to a school and take a required course on African American history to the point to where their very graduation depends on them knowing who Fannie Lou Hamer is, who Ella Baker is, who Septima Clark is, knowing these people, Joanne Robinson, Mary Fair Burke, knowing who E.D. Nixon is. We've got a lot of work to do. And it doesn't require one speech. It doesn't require one fanfare. What it requires is us doing that back-breaking, laborious work that nobody wants to do. People are making millions off of your history. What I want you to do, I want you to calculate just how much money the entertainment industry has earned from Nat King Cole alone. Alone, without talking about anyone else. Without talking about Led Zeppelin's pilfering of blues in the Delta. We're not talking about the Rolling Stones or the Who making gazillions of dollars off of black music. Let's just look at Nat King Cole. And when we talk about reparations, we can start right here, right now. We know the names, the places of the people who kept us in bondage. Their relatives are still here. And they're still building wealth off of wealth that was stolen. So what are you gonna do when you show up in the room with somebody and that last name sounds awful familiar? Because you read in a history book about that person's great-great-grandfather enslaved African people in Lowndes County, in Wilcox County, in Bibb County, in Macon County. Those people are still there. And you skin and grin and look at them in the face knowing what it is that has taken place. But you know what? When you get knowledge of your history and culture, you will be able to stand on this earth and not be afraid of anybody. The reason why we are cowards is because we have been fed a bunch of lies. And the way that you know that you're dealing with somebody that knows the truth is that they are relentless in their pursuit. They will not stop. And of all of the foot soldiers that I know, and I'll call some names, Ruby Sales, Willie Mukasa Ricks, Annie Pearl Avery, Diane Nash, Bernard Lafayette. You know what they want? If you were to sit down and ask them some questions about what they want, even if you were to ask Martin Luther King what he wants, they want their history properly documented so the generations past and future will be able to glean from what they have said. This whole country went in an uproar over something that was actually created. This issue of statues and monuments. And I'm a historian, not a good one. But I love to point at the statue of Marion J. Sims. It's in Montgomery. And say he did gynecological exams on slave women without anesthesia. Oh, I'd love to do that. I love Nathan Bedford Forrest statues. I love to point at him, and I love to say, not only was this man a Confederate general and a murderer, a genocidal, homicidal maniac, a pathological killer, but he was also one of the founders of the Ku Klux Klan and also one of the most commemorated personalities in American history. Not just Confederate history, but in American history. Now, who would want to glorify somebody like that if they themselves did not identify and were some way trying to recapitulate what that monument stands for? So I'm a Christian, I believe in the Bible. My God ain't big on statues at all. He doesn't care for them much. But what he does care for is the proper documentation of what has happened. Ezra and Nehemiah, we more to them than probably any other person in the Old Testament, because had it not been for them, we would not have our Bible. But what made them so special was that they documented their history and their culture. They embraced it. They named names. They put places to faces. They did all of those things that nobody wants to do. You're not going to get grant money to do that. You have to do it because one of the things that we must understand is that our struggle is not a class struggle. It is a struggle of life and death. If we don't properly document our history, we are going to die. And there will be no evidence of us ever existing if we ourselves do not preserve our own history and culture. That's not Hollywood's job. That's not Tyler Perry's job. That's our job. As educators, that's our job, to teach our young people from whence they have come. Martin Luther King got killed because he revealed the proper seat of power. And he revealed that seat of power as not being a white seat, as not being a black seat, but a conglomerate situation to where blacks and whites were working together to keep blacks in the situation that they were in. King's death comes as a memorial of what will happen to you if you stand up for what's right. One of the things that King's death does for us, it teaches us to organize around purpose and not personality. How many of you know Martin Luther King did not elect himself to be the president of the MIA? How many of you know that Joanne Robinson selected him and the MIA elected him, and he was not even at the meeting that they elected him in? Isn't that interesting? Martin Luther King was in Montgomery not to lead the Montgomery bus boycott. And if you would listen to people who knew King when he was young, that was not his thing. He was from Atlanta. He was from middle class. He was not necessarily infiltrated and concerned with the struggles of poor black people. But just like when God called Moses to come down out of his high position in Hebrews 11, chapter the 25th verse, and struggle with your people as one of your people. What's the measure of struggle? The measure of struggle is that you're willing to suffer for and as the people that you're struggling with. And if you're not willing to come down off of your high horse, divest yourself of all of the accolades that people have given you, all of the accolades that you bought yourself, all of those titles, and struggle with people who have no titles. And you're struggling as someone who has not a title. These kids don't care what your title is. They don't care what you've been through. They don't care all of the things. The only thing that they care about is if you're going to take them to the zoo. The only thing they care about is you're going to take them to the mall. Are you going to spend time with them? Are you going to do those things that make for a community? Or are you just going to flunk all of your accolades and all of your accomplishments that you can't cash in when God calls you home? I've been close to death. I've been close to death twice. And I'll tell you what goes through a person's mind just before they die, because I've been there. What goes through somebody's mind is the horror of whether you have done what you're supposed to do. I have never heard a foot soldier say anything other than, I want this story told. And what I'd like for you to do, I want to invite you to Selma as we commemorate the bridge crossing every year. You can actually sit and talk to foot soldiers. You know why you can sit and talk to them? Because they're not up on the podium talking. They are with the people. They are struggling with the people, struggling as the people. When the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, who was Martin Luther King's foot soldiers, when they came into Lowndes County, they came and they infused themselves into the people, started the Lowndes County Freedom Organization, from which we get the Black Panther Party for self-defense. Had it not been for the Lowndes County Freedom Organization, you'd have no Black Panther Party. So why does the California group get all of the attention and the Lowndes County people don't? Well, because the Lowndes County people were the best example of local political organizing. All politics are local. And you'd be surprised at what a battle over City Hall would do for South Africa, would do for the Congo, would do for Ghana. When Martin Luther King and a delegation went over to witness the inauguration of Dr. Sajifo Kwame Nkrumah, the first president of Ghana, member of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated, member of the Universal Conventional People's Party, and he was also a graduate of Lincoln University. He was able to see a black nation come into existence, something we have not seen since 1791 in the Haitian Revolution. What did he say when he saw black people and European people working together? What did he say when he saw former colonial slave masters and the slaves coming together to build a nation? How many of us have ever seen an elephant, a baby elephant, a baby giraffe, a baby rhinoceros? We've seen those, right? But how many of us have ever seen one born? See, the animals hide the birth. That's very private. You don't see that. But births are very traumatic. They're very grotesque. They're very obscene. But when the fruit is produced, there's a joy and a gladness. Black people have never seen a nation come into existence. And when Martin Luther King saw an African people organizing themselves, unified under one leader and under one political party, he comes back to America and preaches a sermon, Birth of a New Nation. Because he was able to see some things that so many black people had not been able to see. Just how does it happen? But I'll tell you this, men need to be prepared for some new leaders. When black people start to vote in the masses and numbers that we say that we want them to, almost every elected official that we have now will probably be voted out. Let me tell you why. What I'm doing is I'm preparing not to be needed anymore. As a teacher, my job is done is when I have duplicated myself. I was bumped out of a department, out of a teaching position by one of my former students who could do a better job than me. What better honor than to have to bow to a young buck of 26 years old with a PhD? But he said, Dr. White, I'm gonna look after you. I told him I'd serve you any way that I can. And now I'm in a totally different department. But you, ladies and gentlemen, we have to address the elephant in the room. God took Moses before Moses could accomplish what it was that God had called him to do. He called him short. And what happens is that we have to be prepared to go from a revolutionary group to a nation. Now, revolutionaries like Moses do not make good presidents. And we have to understand that there is a transition that takes place. And God is the one that makes the transition. And so in understanding where we are, we have to be prepared for that transition. And when you look at who would take Moses' place, and you look at the writing of the Numbers, Deuteronomy, and Leviticus, those are three different covenants that address the needs of the nation at those different times, from Sinai to the golden calf, and from the golden calf to the plains of Moab. Not the same thing, not the same struggle, not the same aspects. The words are not even the same because the objectives were different. When Jesus was on the age and he was talking to his apostles, that culture was on its way out. 70 years
and Titus would come and destroy Judea, and there would be nothing left. So Jesus was speaking to a culture that was in its last days. What about us? How are we challenged today? A transition in leadership is natural in a republic because a republic does not need leaders. A republic is not a place for leaders. Donald Trump is not a leader, he's a representative. There is a difference. When we are dealing with an educated group of people, when our people have been properly trained on who they are and what they possess in their particular point in time, they will not need anybody telling them which way to go. They'll know which way to go. And they will elect somebody who represents what the group wants and not what that individual person wants. They will be a representative of the whole, not an exception to the rule. President Barack Obama, our former president, was an exception to the rule. He was not a representation of the whole. W. B. Du Bois, in his critique of Negro leadership, he said that we have a problem electing the smartest. And when you put the smartest one out front, and that smartest one is taken out, the group have no other voice. You hide the smart ones. You put them in the center. And the people that you put out front are people who can represent the consensus of the group. When we are taught proper political organizing, and those SNCC people that are still here can teach us, if we would stop commemorating them and put them in the classroom and give them a textbook that they have written. Birmingham City school teachers, you can write your own textbooks. Jefferson County teachers, you can write your own textbooks. You don't need a textbook company from Texas telling you what history is. But when we're in an environment that stifles creativity, I tell my students, you don't go anywhere where people don't appreciate your creativity. If somebody tells you that they're gonna find a place for you, you make your own place. Your history and your culture will do that for you. 4 things and then I'm gone. There are 4 things we must embrace: our origin, we must embrace our meaning, we must embrace our morality, and we must embrace our destiny. When we study our history and our culture, as our sisters and brothers were dancing and singing in our African tradition, they was dancing and singing about a circle. They were dancing and singing about the continuum of life. And when you discover your destiny, the only thing that will happen is you will find that there were other people in your origin in whose steps you have walked. God bless you.
I want to introduce Evan Monique Gibson. She is a West End girl. She is a fabulous opera singer. How old are you, Monique? She's 16 years old. And if you leave without hearing her, you will lose the opportunity to see the next Broadway singer. You need to get your picture now, because she's on her way straight out of Jefferson County, Birmingham city limits, West End community. Evan Monique Gibson.
Swing low,
to carry me home. Sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. I looked over Jordan, and what did I see? Coming for to carry me home. A band of angels coming after me, coming for to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. If you get there before I do, coming for to carry me home, tell all my friends I'm coming to, coming for to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home.
This is what our communities produce. She didn't get no grant. She went around peddling and washing cars. It came from leadership out of her home. Could the parents please stand up? The grandmother and the mother and the uncle is here. We can do it. Our community can produce. We can produce. Representative Hollis, could you please stand? Thank you so much for your participation in this breakfast.
She was good. Emily Stutter just called, and she's going to send you to Hollywood. You are that good. And that was fantastic. Thanks, Dr. White, too. That was awesome. Oh, by the way, I'd like to sing a song real quick, if you... Thank you for letting me be here. It means a lot to me. All the folks at Channel 13 are very appreciative that you are making your day a part of our day. If you need anything else, I'm on the morning shift now, so I'm with Eunice in the morning from 4 in the morning till 7 in the morning. So if you're an early riser, check us out. And Eunice is a pro. I'm just trying to keep up with it. All right, again, thank you very much. If you need anything from me, let me know. Again, Mr. Woods is with us for the prayer and the benediction.
Bishop Calvin Woods.
Let me take a point of personal privilege. I have immensely been blessed by what has gone forth here today. It's not by might or power, but it's by my spirit, said the Lord of hosts. I know the time is far spent. Let me say what I want to say, what Dr. King would want me to say, and certainly what God wants me to tell you. That we have our annual Martin Luther King March that will take place today at 11 o'clock from the City Hall down to 16th Street, where we will be having our annual mass meeting. Dr. King was about marching. He was about working. Now we're encouraging all of the foot soldiers who are physically able, and you have the time to be with us, as well as others. It's all right to talk about it. But for the light to prevail, you got to keep it on. If you don't, darkness will take over. You people in Birmingham, those of us who have labored, Birmingham is one of the best cities in this nation. You have labored to make it this way. And we've got to continue to march on. Now I'm going to say a brief word of prayer, after which we shall sing the song of the movement that was written according to what he told me by one of the members of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference here in Birmingham. That's Brother Carlton Reese. Singing has played a great part as it did in its own, and it must continue on. The movement choir, foot soldiers in the Bible. There was a time when the choir went out on the battlefield and they sounded the music and routed the enemy. I say it's about the spirit. We got to keep, come on, clap y'all hands. Y'all don't even clap like you used to. Come on. Come on, you got to put your feet in. Our Father, we thank you for these your servants who have taken the time that you gave them, time that you allotted them, the mind that you gave them. They used it wisely to come out here this morning to commemorate the great service of one of the stars that you put in the horizon, oh God, of this world. They have not hidden their lights, but they have that light shining so people throughout the nation and the world will know that they are among those, oh God, who labor hard, and among those who do appreciate of the labor of those foot soldiers, and that they are dedicated to carry on the work of justice until every remnant of enfranchisement and intimidation shall have been eradicated from the body politic of this entire nation. Oh God, put a hook in the devil's nose. Oh, stop his ears up. Confuse his confusion. And grant more knowledge and wisdom unto your people, that we'll be able to stand forward, oh God. We'll either nobly save or meanly lose this last great hope of us. Oh God, just revitalize us to stand up. Help us to get that spirit where we can say, I don't feel no waste time. I've come too far from where I started from. Nobody told me the road would be easy. Lord, but we've come too far. You're not gonna leave us. We got to keep the light shining. Heal the sick, save the lost. Save this land of ours, land that we love. Save us. Oh, stand beside us. Keep us, Lord. Keep us in your care. In the name of Jesus, let us sing the anthem of the movement. We should overcome. Y'all stand up. Woo! We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome. See us through. The Lord will see us through. Yes, sir. The Lord will see us through. The Lord will see us through. Say what Dr. King said, tell the person next to you, say, I love you.